For examining the past, what a teaching tool a time machine would be, huh? What a great tool a time machine would be. Not only for history classes, but for theology as well. Our most cherished preconceptions and fixed opinions would bump hard against the wall of freshly lived experience. Imagine a non-scholarly conservative Christian, a biblical fundamentalist, and a creationist to boot, with the Bible as a kind of roadmap, and he puts the time machine on. Races through the ancient past in an avid quest looking for things like the flood, looking for the Garden of Eden, and all the other wonders reported on the pages of the Old Testament, like Mount Sinai on fire, right? And 40 days exactly, Moses up there. And Moses living exactly, right? 120 years. And what would he find? Answer, a hell of a lot less than he expects. And one of those fundamentalist Catholics that look for scientific proofs, who assume that today's church is basically unchanged from the church of the past. Imagine a pair of non-scholarly conservative Catholics, time travelers, a priest and his friend, a young, impressionable, neo-Orthodox internet apologist, using a time machine to go and study the church throughout its history. Let's imagine the pair traveling back to the year 999, Common Era, or AD if you like. They go to 999 and they interview the first priest they can find in the city of Rome. How might the interview go? Perhaps something like this. Father says first, I noticed that the reigning Pope today, Sylvester II, is French. In fact, he's the first Frenchman ever to be elected as the vicar of Christ. Is he not? And he smiles, Father smiles, because he knows his history and he's in on it, right? Pretty good. To which the priest replies, I assume you mean our bishop here in Rome? At first, when you said Pope, I wasn't quite sure. You do know that many bishops other than the Bishop of Rome are referred to as popes, yes? And in the East, even ordinary priests like myself have that title. After all, it means Papa, Father. And by the way, all bishops in the church, wherever they are on earth, are vicars of Christ, not just the bishops of Rome. It seems that our intrepid, non-scholarly, conservative, time-traveling friends do not realize that the title Pope was not reserved exclusively for the Bishop of Rome until the year 1073 by Gregory VII. The title Vicar of Christ was not reserved to the Pope until the mid-12th century by Eugenius III, and it wouldn't be popularized still for much time after that. Then the young apologist speaks up. But wasn't the election of a Frenchman a big surprise? There must have been a significant number of French cardinals and French sympathizers at the conclave. Is that how he managed to receive the necessary 2/3 vote? Cardinals? Says the priest. Conclave. 2/3 vote? What are you talking about? Sylvester was elected by the clergy and lay people of Rome. Well, at least that's the official line. In actuality, he was handpicked by his friend, the German Emperor Otto III. Again, our time-traveling duo is not aware that it was not until the pontificate of Nicholas II, 1058 to 1061, that the right of election was taken away, ripped from the hands of the clergy and the lay people of Rome. At first, cardinal bishops were designated as papal electors. Then, in 1179, Pope Alexander III, note the name Alexander, like Alexander the Great, added cardinal priests and cardinal deacons as papal electors, and decreed that a 2/3 majority would be necessary for election. The conclave itself, that is the system of separating the electors from the outside world until after they had elected a new pope, did not begin until way later in the 1500s. Way later. Father speaks up. Do you expect that the new French Pope will add appreciably to the number of French bishops in the hierarchy? What? Says the priest from 999. How would he do that? Sir, you should know that the Bishop of Rome can only nominate bishops for the small neighboring diocese of Rome. We call them the suburbicarian sees. There are just 7 of them. He also influences the appointment of bishops in some other parts of the Italian peninsula, particularly those in the papal states. Wait, I'm confused, says the young friend of the priest that's time traveling. Are you saying that the Pope doesn't appoint all the bishops of the world? What? How and why would he do that? Says the priest from Rome in 999. Bishops are elected by their own clergy and lay people. That's the way it has always been done since the earliest centuries of the church, for almost 1,000 years. Besides, the Pope is the Bishop of Rome, not the bishop of the whole church. Throughout most of the history of the church, folks, including most of the second Christian millennium, bishops have been selected in a great variety of ways. The practice of direct papal picking, who's going to be bishops, did not begin until the 1800s after Napoleon. Well, couldn't the Pope at least stack the Roman Curia with French bishops and priests and thereby exercise greater personal control over the universal church? Roman Curia. What's that? The Roman Curia was not established until 1588 by Pope Sixtus V. It's only been around for about 1/4 of the history of the church. Father interrupts. Let me try again. At the very least, couldn't this French Pope put a distinctly French face on Catholicism by canonizing enormous numbers of French saints? You're still confusing me, sir. You make it sound as if the Bishop of Rome were the one who names all the saints. It is true that the late Pope John XV canonized a saint just 6 years ago, but that was the very first time a pope canonized anyone. Our 21st century friends, like many Catholics today, are completely unaware that canonization was not reserved to the Pope until 1234 by Gregory IX. Before that, saints were generally proclaimed by the Catholic laity themselves. French or not, at least the Pope is infallible, right? He's infallible, right? Infallible. That's the first time I've ever heard of such a thing. Infallible, you said? Papal infallibility was not defined until 1870 at the First Vatican Council. Thank you for your time. We need to be going. Okay. I would that ideas go like that, you know? Instead of like, can you believe what he's saying? He needs to be fired. Instead, it would just be this sound. And everything would be fine. Wouldn't that be great?